Good evening. Today is Monday, August the 4th, 2025. The time is 6:31, and I would like to call this regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Palacios,
Here.
Lancaster,
Here.
Rodriguez,
Here.
Skiller,
Here.
Vasquez.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. Item 2, approval of minutes. Item 2, approval of minutes. The board will now consider approval of the meeting minutes from June 2nd, 2025, Board of Adjustment meeting. We need a motion and a second to approve these minutes.
Motion to approve?
I second.
We have a motion, by member, what's your name?
Palacios.
Palacios and Vasquez. Any discussions? Nothing?
Good.
All of those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? No motions. Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, citizen comment period. Citizen comment period. The Board of Adjustment welcomes comments from the citizen early in the agenda. The speaker may address any agenda item or other matters concerning city business and must observe the 3-minute time limit. Nobody? Were you planning to provide comments?
So there's a public hearing on the next item. You can speak now or you can speak then.
Okay. So no comments at this time. Item 4, consider and possible action. Consider approval of a resolution approving or denying variance from Section 53-33 pursuant to Section 53-1198 H1 to reduce the required front and side yard setbacks for a property located at 102 Barrera Street, Kyle, Texas 78640. Board of Adjustment -25-0018. This item includes a public hearing. I now open the public hearing.
My name is Mary Jane Cisneros. I'm part owner of the residence at 102 Barrera Street. And the reason I'm here is because I would like to, for you to consider approving our request for a carport we've already begun to build. It's in front of our house. I guess you were provided with the paperwork. I'm not sure how that works. So you were provided with the paperwork, and as I'm reviewing the information that the city provided for this meeting as well, some of the things it talks about are possibly like a fire hazard because of the location, whether or not, I guess, like there's some resources that can get to the residents. The residence located next to the carport is 30 feet from our house. So our carport that we have there that we've started building, that we want to continue building, is 30 feet from the driveway to the nearest neighbor. So there wouldn't be, and between us and them, it's all paved up, so we literally have all that as open parking. And what we're requesting to do is to allow us to continue building the carport that we've started. And also from looking at this paperwork, if I understand it correctly, this is the first time looking at it, but some of the lines on the setbacks from what they're showing on this exhibit right here, and it's got the red lines going across like that, it looks like we're about 2 feet away from what's already, what appears to be a concern. I'm not real sure. So I don't know if you have any questions or if I can explain anything better than that.
Question. Staff, do we have a presentation for this item? Pardon me?
We need to see if there's anyone else here for public comment first.
It's true. Is anybody here would like to comment?
One more thing I did want to add. This is foreign to me. One more thing I did want to add is that what we're asking to be done is already done all over the city of Kyle. We're not the only ones that, there's some in our exact subdivision, there's already carports like that in existence. Most of them are just metal buildings where we're actually building a carport that's going to be aesthetically appealing and wood and lumber, and not just a metal building sitting in the front of the property. So what we're asking for is already existing all over Kyle.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I have to ask questions or? Okay, for the homeowners as well? Thank you.
Chairman, if there's no one else that wants to speak during the public hearing, if you could please close the public hearing.
Well, I now close the public hearing.
All right. Good evening, Kayla Sharp, Senior Planner. So tonight we have a variance request for a property located at 102 Barrera Street. So this property, backtrack. The applicant is seeking a variance to encroach the front and side yard setbacks, and the property is zoned R1 for single-family residential. So the R1 zoning requires a 20-foot front and 5-foot side setback. This variance is being requested to allow the...
Sorry to interrupt. If you guys turn on your monitors, that way you can see the presentation. Sorry.
No worries. The variance is being requested to allow the owners to keep a carport that was constructed without the necessary permits. Currently, the carport encroaches the entire front and side setback. It's also possible that the carport may encroach public right-of-way, but we do not have confirmation on that right this second. Okay. So just a little bit of history on this case. In September of 2024, a complaint was received regarding unpermitted construction. A stop work order was issued, and the owners received information about the permitting process and the necessary permits they would need to move forward. In October of 2024, the owners applied for a building permit, and at that point, staff determined that a variance would be necessary because of the encroachment of the setbacks. October 2024 through January 2025, work continued despite the stop work order. Then in March of 2025, the owners applied for the variance, but did not pay the application fees necessary to process the application. For variances, site development permits, things like that, we collect the payment up front before we review anything. So they submitted the application but had not paid, and so it had not been reviewed. In May of 2025, staff issued a final notice regarding payment. And when the deadline passed, code enforcement filed with municipal court. In June of 2025, the owners paid the application fee right before their court date. The judge then granted a 60-day extension for the owners to pursue the variance, and a follow-up court date was set for later this month. So here's kind of the overview of the property. This is all fairly approximate, but I did spend quite a bit of time trying to match this up with the plats and everything like that. So It's as accurate as I could get it, but it is still very approximate. So the red is the approximate right-of-way, blue is the approximate property boundaries, and then green is the carport. So that's where it looks like we might be encroaching the right-of-way just a little bit, but we don't have actual verification on that, but it appears that that might be the case. And clearly encroaching the entire front and side yard setback. Here is kind of the overview over time. June of last year, there was no carport in front of the house. October of 2024, you can see they had started to construct the carport, and then January, they had made a little bit more progress on it, and the October to January timeframe is when that stop work order was still in place. We'll have time for later on. And then again, September 2024, this is when we received the complaint, and code enforcement went out to the property. And then July of this year, you can see a little bit of progress has been made. So applicable codes in this case, we have the zoning ordinance that states that no accessory building shall be built in any required setback area. Again, there's a 20-foot front setback and a 5-foot side setback. And then we also follow the 2021 International Residential Code, which states that walls of structures cannot be located within 5 feet of the property line unless equipped with fire sprinklers, and then projections, overhangs, eaves, things like that cannot be within 5 feet of the property line unless they are fire resistance rated to 1 hour. So here are your requirements for the variance. There's 2 kind of sections at play here. There's the yard and setback requirements. So for yard and setback, you can permit a variance in the yard requirements of any district where there are unusual and practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship due to things like irregular shape of the lot, topography, other unique conditions, things like that. There's also this section on structures, again, hardship-based. So staff analysis, staff have reviewed the request and found that it does not meet the criteria necessary to grant a variance for the following reasons. And I'm going to go through all of these. They're also on the sheet that I've given all of you, so you have them right in front of you. So there's no demonstrated hardship related to the lot shape, topography, or other unique physical condition that would prevent compliance with setback requirements. The situation appears to be a self-created hardship as the carport was constructed without permits and in violation of a stop work order. The variance appears to be sought primarily for convenience rather than to alleviate a substantial or unusual hardship as required by code. The existing structure presents life safety concerns under the International Residential Code due to its proximity to the property line and lack of fire-resistant measures. The encroachments may pose a negative impact on adjacent properties, particularly in terms of access, visibility, or fire separation. And the requested encroachment is expressly prohibited by both zoning ordinance and applicable building code regulations. So your options tonight are to approve the request as presented by the applicant to allow the encroachment, approve with modifications to allow the encroachment with a reduced or altered encroachment, or deny the request. Based on the findings outlined in this case, staff is recommending denial of the variance request as the variance does not meet the necessary requirements to be granted a variance. So also on the sheet that I have given all of you, there is space if you choose to write down kind of your own findings. There are some, the back of the sheet has to meet every single one of these criteria listed. The front, it has to meet one of the first 3 and then both of the last 2. So, yeah. any questions.
Say that one more time. 2 of the first 3?
On the front of the sheet,
The yard and
it
setback?
has to meet at least one of
One.
the first 3. It can meet all, but it has to meet at least one, and then it has to meet the last 2 on the front
Okay.
of the sheet. The back of the sheet, it has to meet all of them.
Okay.
I have a question. You addressed modifications or approving with modifications. What does that look like?
So that could mean, particularly if it is found to be encroaching right-of-way, you could approve the variance, making sure that it doesn't, encroach public right-of-way, something like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Or,
So as long as,
yes, and it could be whatever modification is deemed suitable to the board, but something like that would be an example.
So how much is it encroaching into the right of way? Like how much of the carport? Because it's hard to tell from these lines
Yeah,
how much of it. So like, it only seems like a very tip portion, which also if you go back to the picture.
Yeah.
One more. If you could zoom into that, it seems like that area between, if you made modifications to the carport there and moved it closer to the house, right, with the modifications of the carport over top of the
So
actual door.
I will say that's a great question. I think being that we don't have a survey of this, that would really be the true way to know exactly when and where that structure encroaches. So if you're looking to approve, but that is something that you want to make sure is not within the right of way, you could say, we recommend the variance in accordance with X, Y, Z. However, we want to make sure that they get a survey of showing exactly when and where, if any encroachments are existing. So you're right. Kayla's just done a really good, we have very good aerial photography on our website. As you can say, they fly it pretty often. So she's really tried to showcase kind of the history of the structure and kind of where it is. But you're right. I am not a surveyor. And it's really based on kind of,
From the picture, it seems like this could be alleviated, if that gap between the garage and the carport was like, but I mean, I also understand, because my house is kind of angled like that as well.
It's
the
also-
Front part, but that gap seems like it would alleviate this whole issue.
Yep, so if this is something that you're looking to do, maybe that is something that you could put into the recommendation as well, as kind of identifying exactly where that structure is in relation to the property as well as the right-of-way.
right, because do we know, are there any utility easements on the side there that it's,
I did check, and there are not any utility easements, but it is right-of-way, so if the city were to ever decide to come expand, or if they decided they wanted to put utilities in that right-of-way, it would impact the carport, and we'd have to go through that whole process down the road.
Just to let you know, right next to that first pillar on the left, AT&T's already come in and they already put in a box there, so I think we're still within that right of way. Because they've already, come in and made a whole different line and added wire there, so it's like right there, right where the pillar is where the right of way is.
I have a question. So if I heard you well, you said that the carport might be encroaching, might be. Who is responsible to determine if it's encroaching or not?
Typically, that would be the responsibility of the homeowner when they're submitting for permits. We received kind of a rough plot plan, but it was hand-drawn and didn't show property lines, right-of-way lines, things like that. So I went back and cross-referenced plat and all of our internal maps, and this was as close as I could get it. But typically, if we were to move forward, we would request that a proper survey be done to verify the location of the right-of-way.
There's supposed to be a 20-foot setback on the front of the property as well?
20 foot, yes.
That's not the red line, though.
No, the red line is right-of-way. So that's basically where the city could put, the actual street, any utilities, anything like that. We have some drainage in there currently. The blue is the property boundaries. So pretty much from the kind of front porch, you can see on the house to the property line, that's about 20 feet.
From the front of the
So
house to the property line?
Yes,
Yeah,
they're
Kayla,
currently.
to confirm that the house is right about at the front
Yes.
setback now, so the entire structure encroaches into the
Mm-hmm.
setback area in the front yard.
So even if we were to tighten up the structure for as tight as we
It's not
possibly
from
could
the
around
road,
that
it's
driveway
from
in
the
the front,
property
it still requires a variance just to put it in front.
Yes.
Got it.
I would like to add, not that it matters, but we didn't continue building after the stop order. The only thing that we did do, and I came and met with Kelly Stillwell in person and requested permission to add a tarp over it to protect the structure. But we did not continue building or doing anything else. I did get permission from Kelly Stillwell to do that.
Thank you for clarifying. That information was not given to us, so I appreciate that.
And all we did was add a tarp over it.
Can you request for that property line to be defined in order for you to make your assessment, to change from a might to it is encroaching or is not encroaching?
I mean, without having a proper survey,
So, well, are you,
I,
do you have the authority to request that survey?
So I think we could. I think we're at the situation that we know whether or not it's in the right of way. It's absolutely in the front setback, right? So I would say you as a board need to consider kind of what's before you for consideration. Are you okay with it being in the front setback? And if you are, do you want to put some modifications on making sure it's outside of the right of way, or asking the city to get comfortable with any kind of licenses to encroach if it is in the right of way? I think that would be you for the purview of the board. So I think as staff, they've kind of evaluated the case as what it is. We absolutely can go back to the applicant and ask for them to do an official survey. But if you're not wanting to continue or allowance in the front yard, I think that would be
Save the expense.
yeah, an expense that maybe they shouldn't undertake if we wouldn't allow it anyway. So I think that's kind of where we're at.
And I have pictures of other residences that have what we're trying to do.
Is that-
when it comes to other properties, those are not in question here. Those are not for your consideration at this time. A lot of them have been, grandfathered previously. They were existing, from way back when. This is being brought to you now because there was a complaint made and it's, being constructed now, rather than, 30 years ago when there weren't as many, permits and things like that.
However, we can look into those as well, so if we need to.
Within a 7-minute radius of our house, we counted about 20, within a 7-minute radius. And not all of them were built in 30 years ago.
Yeah, but those, like
All this
we say, those are not
Those are
considered.
not up for
Right.
discussion right now.
So,
And with all due respect, I mean, may I just ask, why initially was the permit not, requested and done the right way? I mean, just curious.
And if you
It
can,
was an oversight.
if you'll come up to the
Okay.
microphone.
Okay. I mean,
how do you propose, for us to do our checks for each item? Like, how do you approach it?
So it's kind of up to you. I've laid it out based on the code language. So for each section of the code, I've given staff's analysis. If you're going to say that criteria was met, then you would need to kind of provide your justification for it. So if you're going to approve it, then we need to know why you're approving it, how you've determined that it meets the criteria necessary to be given the variance. Similarly, if you determine it does not meet the criteria, what conclusions you've drawn.
How, maybe we need to ask a lawyer if they're here, but how sure are we that this structure falls within the definition of accessory buildings?
It most definitely falls under.
There's no question
accessory
about it? Because
structure.
I look at the pictures, I don't see any walls.
It's a structure, though.
I understand, but, yeah, anything's a structure. That's why I'm asking the lawyer to weigh in and say if there's like some precedent here that says this carport definitely falls within that regulation. Because to me, it's just a roof on 4 sticks.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
definitely
structure.
an accessory building and/or structure, but you're right. There's many buildings that are structures and structures that are buildings. I think the terms are interchangeable. Amy, if you have anything else to add, but it's absolutely a structure in
This
the
isn't
front
a gray
setbacks.
area at all then?
No, no.
Okay, that's all, that was
Yeah.
my question. I'm not trying to be argumentative, I apologize.
Understandable?
So my question is more like, so looking at the structure in the photos, the beams look like they're concreted in, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, so how far deep is the concrete poles down?
2 feet.
2 feet, okay. Now, without doing a survey, granted, I'm not a complete builder, but I think they would need a little bit deeper than that. But at the same time, if they were to move it backwards out of the ROW, they would still need a variance for that, correct?
They would still need a variance for the setbacks, yes.
Okay, so they need then the setbacks in the front, but as long as it's out of the RW, what would that variance look like, and would they have to reapply for another one?
No, so that's what you're considering tonight is, are you comfortable with granting a variance for the setbacks? If you want to make sure or add to your motion to ensure that it's out of the right-of-way, then you can also do that. If your motion is just to make sure it's out of the right-of-way, that would essentially mean you're comfortable with it encroaching the entire front and side setback up to the 20 feet. Or if you say, let's make it a 5-foot setback, it could encroach, 15 feet in the front, something like that. So that's what you're considering here tonight, is that setback variance.
Well, my question would be on that is, we don't know the distance. Do we know the width on that? How far is it over?
It's fully within the 5-foot side setback and fully within the 20-foot front setback.
Okay, so if we went that route, then we would have to specify that we'd have to go, the setback would have to be 5 feet.
So if you wanted it, 5 feet back from the property line on either side, yes, you would say no variance to the side setback and then a 5-foot front setback.
And do we know that 5 feet would be considered as code or to meet the variance?
From a staff perspective, there is no modification to the variance that would allow it to, meet the criteria needed to be granted that variance.
I'm sorry, so just to be clear, we can request for a survey, I guess, right, to figure out where the setbacks and the lines and then say that the variance is approved based on making sure that it is within the boundaries. That's an option.
Yeah, yes. I would say you should look at it to whether or not you think this is an appropriate placement of the structure, and then, and if it's something that you want to allow in general in the 20-foot front and 5-foot side yard setback. However, if you do want to put conditions on it saying that you want to make sure it's out of the street right away, that you could ask for proof through survey to make sure that it's either portions, let's pretend portions of it could be demolished or modified to make sure it fits within the property, if that's what you want to do.
I just want to weigh in on the definition of building because I went and pulled it up. So building means any structure designed or built for support, enclosure, shelter, or protection of persons, animals, chattels, or property of any kind. A carport was designed to shelter vehicles. So I would argue that it meets the definition of building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can you,
Can I just clarify as well that if we were to consider a variance, another thing that has been talked about in the presentation kind of at length is meeting fire codes or failure to meet fire codes.
yeah,
So there would be substantial rework to the structure that would need to be done to bring it up to spec with that as well, just on the roof, correct?
Potentially, that's something that would be looked at as part of the actual building permit. So if there are any changes that need to be made to bring it up to the building code, those things would be reviewed during the building permit regardless of whether a variance is granted or not.
Okay. Can I ask you to fill your analysis? So if you've made on the first one at least 3, and on the second ones, if you agree at least or consider to approve a portion, and how are we gonna we're gonna vote, or
Yes, so if you want to you don't have to necessarily fill it out in detail, it's more just to kind of help you get your thoughts together. But once you've kind of done that, if you need a minute, totally fine. But you'll take a vote and you won't be able to have discussions, or someone will have to make a motion, there will have to be a second on that motion, and then you'll be able to discuss before you take a vote.
Is there an option for us as the board to just kind of discuss together before we vote, or no?
We'd have to make a motion on it.
Yeah, yes. So I would say right now is the perfect opportunity to really kind of look at these and discuss among you. If you're done with staff, absolutely. And then you could just do it out in the open here, like saying what you agree or don't agree kind of to these different statements and go from there, even before you make a motion.
I mean, because I don't know, I feel like I would like to help them, but I just don't know about the variance and all the different modifications and things that entails, That's where I'm conflicted.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah, that's my truth.
So, on the staff analysis, you noted that the variance is not in harmony with the general purpose. What is your wording by harmony? Are you talking about that it's not an original structure to the building, it doesn't go in harmony with the rest of the neighborhood? What are you trying to say there as a staff? I don't know if you have this form right here with you. so-
Yes, I do,
Yeah,
yeah.
she prepared.
So basically, it doesn't align with the zoning ordinance, as the zoning ordinance clearly states that no structure shall be built within setbacks.
Okay,
So
okay,
that's not in compliance with the general purpose and intent of the zoning.
Well, for me, the most important one is the fire separation. Also, the one that significantly affects, at least we have one party that,
Do you want to call a motion for the staff?
well,
You can continue discussing before you make a motion, or you can make a motion and then discuss the motion.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
Stay away from the building.
So we are 30 feet from our neighbor's driveway.
Discussion was 16 feet from the road.
16 feet from the road.
Mark, please don't speak out. If they have questions for you, they'll ask. Thank you.
So this is the other thing, like, is there any value at all to the homeowners in trying to find a medium position, right? Because it sounds like if you have to chop off 5 feet here and chop off 5, that's taking down the whole structure and rebuilding again, isn't it?
Potentially.
Essentially.
So is there any interest on the part of the homeowners at a medium position, or are they just kind of like take it or leave it?
I think those are great questions. If the homeowners could come up
We'll
and
come up
and
here.
kind of answer, I think those are valid questions.
Okay. Question?
That's basically my only question is like, is there a medium position that works for you guys? Or is this really a take it or leave it position? Because if we come with a medium position and it requires you to tear down everything and start again, then maybe you don't want to do it
Survey,
anymore.
get all this done.
We're more than willing to make an adjustment if we need to.
Okay.
We didn't want to bring this up, but my wife is ill, and we built the structure for getting in and out of the car, getting groceries and that kind of thing, and that's why we built it. We can
Yeah.
make adjustments.
I'm going to share my medical.
We understand, and so you would be willing to make adjustments if that's what the board
Yes.
would provide as a modification recommendation?
I'm also curious, did any of the other board members, maybe this is not an appropriate question, but did any of you all go to the neighborhood before the meeting and take a look around? Because I did.
I drove by.
Yeah, I drove through the whole neighborhood down there, and because part of the homeowner's argument was that, listen, it's not inconsistent with what other folks are doing in the neighborhood, and I wanted to see if that was true or not. And what I can tell you is your carport is unique from my perspective. It's not an eyesore. I don't think it's ugly, but it's different than the other carports in the neighborhood that I saw. But I'm wondering if maybe there's a solution that's more in keeping with what the rest of the neighborhood really has, which are really they're smaller carports in the front when they're up there, and they tend to be these metal things.
We wanted to make it a little nicer. We were going to put shingles on it, paint
Paint
it
it.
the same color of the house, but we weren't able to finish, so,
Trying to make it look as organic as
yes, sir,
possible. I understand.
part of the house.
Again, my question is, and I don't know if they still have that picture up, but that gap between, now, granted, it takes a lot of modification at the top part, right? The part right above the door. It seems like most of that would, my more worry is not the variance of the front of the house. I'm okay with that. It's the ROW that I'm worried about. All right, so the more the encroachment into the ROW. So it seems like there's that gap right there that would literally alleviate all that. Now, again, we're not measuring, we're not out there with measuring sticks, we're not surveying, but from a top aerial picture, there seems like there is that gap. Now, it seems kind of hard because it seems like you have that pole that's right there is right up against it, and you try to get it as close to the front of that part as possible. Now, are you building this yourself, or are you contractors out?
Contractors.
Okay, so, and maybe it's a conversation with them, also maybe a surveyor, maybe somebody out there, see if they can modify that corner and then push it up against the house a little bit more.
We can
You
do
could
that.
Definitely get out of that ROW. That's my only worry, it's just because you are encroaching into the city, and if they have to do something like that, and that's a city council meeting, I think, in front of that for that type of encroachment, that the city has to do there. So what could happen is they could have to come out there and take it down and
Sure.
do what work they have to do, right? And I get they got AT&T out there, they do the same thing.
Yeah, I
They do
think
it
they're
as well.
already in the encroachment because AT&T, you can kind of see it right next to the left corner green box. On the left side, over here in front of the house, that's where the AT&T box is. So they're already, where
And
the
they're in front of,
encroachment,
yeah, they're in front of it.
they're already at the encroachment part
Yeah,
of the
and-
right of way.
And I'll tell you, from those guys, the first thing they're doing is they have to get recommendations. They have to, they're going off city plans, they're looking
Oh, yeah.
at city maps. They have a big old plotter back there, prints out a big old map, and they know exactly how far from the street they're allowed to go and
Yeah.
where they can put that stuff.
That's what I'm
So-
saying. I think they already did. I think that's
Yeah.
where the right of way is, just from where they put their box.
Correct, so that's now, again, we'd have to survey it out there, but I mean, if you could get it close, the modification, get it closer to the building.
I
I
think
think the
most of
variance
it
is
might be
fine.
overhang too,
Yeah.
because I think the pillars
And you
come
close that gap.
underneath.
Right there,
We've
too,
got
so-
a foot and a half,
Did your
a foot
Overhang.
overhang in there.
Overhang.
did your contractor give you any possible solutions as they are supposed to?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we work together.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see in the picture, but that line, the darker line that's up against the road, that's like an open ditch that runs through that community. And all of these driveways and walkways bridge over that. So
We
you can
had to
easily
do that
see that,
ourselves.
yeah, at some point in the future, the city might want to come in and close that over, right? And you'll have a closed ditch, and then where's the sidewalk gonna go? It's gonna go right up against that red line. And that's the concern, right? Because the
We've been
sidewalk's
there-
not gonna run right. I understand.
Yeah,
right?
we
With
built the
Kyle-
house.
Kyle's a dynamic place, and I
No,
love your neighborhood, by the way.
we built the house.
It's one of my favorite neighborhoods, a little pocket neighborhood up by
Yeah.
the railroad tracks. But I would have a concern that this right-of-way is accurate. This is what the city needs to put a sidewalk if they ever wanted to do that. Not that they're gonna do it anytime in our lifetimes, but you can see that. It's not as easy to see if you haven't been and don't know that that's a ditch right there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, when the city came through and did all that for the water to flow through and everything, you know, then we're just left with just big holes and we don't, you know, in order for us to even have the drive that we have on the right side of the structure, we had to pay to get that closed and get the road and everything, because the city just makes a hole and then leaves, and then we have to go in there and make it the way we want so we can have useful space.
Can you go to the next slide? Can you zoom in on the middle one right there? If you have that, do you have that ability? You don't? Oh, okay. All right, sorry, my bad. I'm using my phone so I can zoom in a little bit better. It seems like you already tried to make the modification right there. You can see how part is going on the roof right there. In the middle, you see how it kind of ends and part of the house.
The October one?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the one
like
in the middle. You
angled.
see it? Yeah,
I was
that's-
talking about that.
Yeah, so it seems like you already kind of did that.
Try to get it as close, yeah.
Yeah.
It can be moved a little further in if we need to.
So,
That's why I asked you about how far deep down were those settings on the concrete and stuff like that.
so what about this approach? What about we ask for a motion to approve the variance? We check for both. If not, we check for motion to deny the variance. Check the votes, and I guess what I'm having trouble is how we're going to do the hybrid. You know, if we want some modifications, you know, because if we
So,
I think we can absolutely, if you have some modifications that you're wanting
to contemplate.
make, we can kind of help walk you through some of the wording for that. Just as a reminder, if you are going to make a motion to approve, even with modifications, we will kind of need you to state your findings on why you're finding that it meets the criteria for the variance, as that will get put into the resolution.
I think that is close.
Public hearing is closed.
Okay. Do you have a modification that you would like to propose? All of you? Any of you?
Yeah, I think I would propose mine.
Just to
Yeah, it's-
move the building back and
You could-
approve?
If you could move it back, oh yeah. If you get out of the ROW, so the right of way is essentially what the city uses, right, for every property has it. Even your residential and non-residential properties, all businesses have an encroachment right of way. Right, the city, if it has to go into it, or the homeowner or business owner wants to go into it, they have to propose to the council, right? I'll tell you, I've seen I've been to a lot of the city council, a lot of those encroachments, get approved by the city, right, to do what they need to do, you know, to build a Kyle and to do what they do. So my worry is that might get in the way of something if they run, you know, I know the city just approved a big water plan here over the next, 30 years. So you never know, they might go do piping, might do all kinds of things. That's my worry. The carport's fine in and I can provide, my analysis on that specific thing, right?
Well, go ahead, so we can start moving on that, because
So the only other thing I really see is the 5-foot part right off the right side. If you go back to that previous slide. Oh, my bad, it's the next slide after that, the one where it's pictured from the street, there you go. So you see that first one, right, which from September? It seems like you went past the carport. What was the sole reason for that, to go that far out? Yes.
So I think, and I don't have a good aerial of it, besides maybe the June 2024 here, the entire, side adjacent to where the carport is all paved. But kind of the blue line on here is the property boundary. The rest of it is the adjacent property. But the driveway kind of extends a little bit, if that makes sense.
No, I can see, I don't essentially think that was a driver, it was extra space, you use it, that's where you park your truck and trailer, right? It makes sense, I understand that portion, I'm not worried about that. So I'm assuming that's where you park your truck and trailer. Now, that trailer right there beside on the other side, is that yours as well, or is that your neighbor's?
It's my niece's,
Okay,
it's our niece for family.
So that's your family's property, okay. All right, so that makes a little bit, that puts a little bit things more into perspective too.
And
So,
Yeah,
then
but-
on the left side is family. All of us are related, all 5 houses down that road.
okay.
I will say it, I mean, for them, it's nice to have family.
No,
Be
that's-
surrounded
that's-
by
that's why I was
family.
really curious, because I wouldn't be, if I was your neighbor, I wouldn't care you put a carport up, but you pushing that close to that's when I'd be like, hey man,
Yeah.
does it
Well-
need to be this close? But you have family, so it makes sense.
Just from a staff perspective, we have to kind of look at it
the property
as
lines.
like, well, it's family on either side of you now, but in the future, is it
Right.
going to be, and how is that gonna impact
Dunno.
those properties? So that's kind of where we come from as a staff perspective.
We split the cost on paving that.
So, do we
Is that paved or is that just gravel?
pay?
That's okay.
That's well. It doesn't matter. Okay. Do we get a motion to deny the variance? All those in favor, say aye.
Oh, we would need a motion and a second, and then you would take a vote.
And a motion, okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 This is to
Deny.
deny the variance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nay.
Gets
So,
motion
yeah, that would be
carries
4-1, so
to
that would
deny.
carry, yes. So is there any discussion on that?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion adjourned. Okay. That's it.
Right.